Eastern, I bring to you a short conversation with an expert, a thought leader, a doer in the world of innovation for the built environment. My name is Jeff Echols. I am a senior advisor and the head of marketing for Shadow Partners, and this is my opportunity to introduce you to the network of people that are involved with Shadow Partners who are focused on innovating for the built environment. Today's conversation is another Encore presentation. This is my conversation with Michael Beckerman. He's the CEO at CREtech and CRE Climate. When I asked Michael the question that I ask all of our guests, what's one thing that's happening in your world that's not talked about enough? Michael said climate crisis. It's talked about a lot, but it's not talked about in terms of the biggest threat and the biggest opportunity in the world of commercial real estate. So I think you're going to find this conversation with Michael Beckerman, the CEO of CREtech, I think you're going to find it very interesting, maybe inspiring, certainly challenging. Enjoy, and I'll be back tomorrow with another Shadow Shorts. Welcome back to Shadow Shorts, where every weekday at noon Eastern, I bring to you a short conversation with an expert or a thought leader in the realm of innovation for the built environment. My name is Jeff Echols. I am a senior advisor and the head of marketing for Shadow Partners, and I am joined today by someone that I have really enjoyed getting to know, and we're going to have a conversation about a topic that, as I was thinking about this earlier, we haven't touched on this topic yet in Shadow Shorts. I'm really looking forward to today's conversation with the CEO of CREtech Climate, Michael Beckerman. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for making time, because I know you've got something a little bit big coming up. You've been working on it as you do. So I'm glad you're here today.
Hey, Jeff. Thanks so much. I'm a big fan of you and the entire team at Shadow, and I've attended your conferences as well. I'm always thrilled at the people that I meet and the things that I learn. So yeah, anytime I get to chat with you or KP or anybody else on the team, I always walk away having learned more than before the conversation. So I'll try and live up to that expectation on my end. But yeah, it's good to spend time with you, Jeff.
No, I'm really glad that you're here. It's great partnering with you on a lot of things. So CREtech is coming up. We were just talking about before we went live. So September 19th, 20th is the big CREtech show, and then the 21st is CREtech Climate, right?
Yeah, that's right, Jeff. So our conferences in the U.S. they're always based in New York. We do one a year, one in New York, one in London. It's our backyard. It's just this, it's a city that I love, that I think is, going through some transformation, clearly, like a lot of other cities, but it's one that I think the best days in terms of technology and adoption and innovation are ahead of it. So really excited to be back in New York at the Javits Center. It'll be a big show, a couple thousand people over 2 days, and then on the 21st, also in New York, the team and I decided, because we're so passionate and committed, like you and your team at Shadow, on the mission of decarbonizing the built environment, we decided to do a dedicated third day, which we've never done before, a half a day, just content. So that's on the 21st. It'll be a smaller event for us, a couple hundred people, but a really, really prestigious, terrific audience, and just incredible speakers as well.
Yeah, that's great. I'm looking forward to that. And, when we were talking about this conversation and planning for this conversation, you mentioned climate. And so the 21st is CREtech Climate. And I forget exactly how you framed it, but it was something around the idea that the climate crisis is the biggest issue, but also the biggest opportunity facing real estate as we go forward. So can you unpack that for us a little bit?
Yeah, sure, Jeff. And thanks for the opportunity again to talk about this topic. So, if you just take a step back and, you and the team at Shadow and the team at CREtech, we've been all focused on building, quote unquote, the prop tech sector within the built environment. We've been doing that since 2017. I know you guys have been doing that for a long time. And that marketplace is, it's going through its natural maturity and evolution. Right. So things are definitely tight right now. Funding is hard to come by in a lot of cases. Adoption is still slow, but you know what? We're still in the second or third inning of that massive marketplace. So, things are definitely a little bit stressed right now in prop tech, but no doubt that it's a natural, healthy evolution of the sector. When you think about climate, right, and our focus at CREtech is always going to be the built environment. So,
Mm-hmm.
you've got technology solutions for the built environment. That's always what we're going to be about. So, you think about the decarbonization of the built environment, that marketplace, I do believe has the opportunity to be many, 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 many times larger than the prop tech sector because of the scale of the problem. So to decarbonize the built environment, Jeff, as you know well, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of $20 trillion to decarbonize buildings, the built environment globally. It's another 80 trillion, if not more, to sort of build resiliency into the built environment. So when you think about the money that's got to be spent, why does it have to be spent? And what are the drivers that are going to force this industry to have to adopt these solutions? Well, you've got government regulation. We talked about it in New York. You've got Local Law 97 on the books, and it's happening across the country, whereas there's legislation that is focused on the built environment, which is 40% of all carbon emissions, the biggest source of greenhouse gas emissions coming from buildings. There's no escaping that government's going to play an increasingly active role. You were at our London conference. They are much further ahead in Europe than we are here in the States in terms of adoption of these technologies, climate tech and sustainability. So government is going to play a very active role in mandating decarbonization of buildings. Tenants and residents and occupiers, they want to select spaces that have clean air, technology that creates a healthy environment that is safe to work in, to live in. So increasingly, sustainability is on the top of checklist that companies are looking to determine, is that building sustainable, that we're going to relocate and move our employees to, and also on the residential side, increasingly higher in the priority of for residents in terms of where they're going to live. And then the third thing that's driving the fourth thing that's driving demand, or the third thing that's driving demand, is just it's impossible. It's going to be impossible to get insurance. It's going to be impossible to get investment capital to build if you're not embracing sustainability in some of these climate tech solutions. And then the fourth is just the risk of building in certain cities and locations that are just getting ravaged by the climate crisis. So when you put that all together, you say, well, that is just extraordinary risk that the real estate industry is going to be facing. That drives demand, Jeff, as you know. Risk drives demand, but also reward drives demand. So when you think about it, you can absolutely prove now that an office building or a multifamily building that embraces sustainability can command higher rents, command a premium in the marketplace. There's this flight to quality in city after city and market after market where real estate companies are getting higher rents because they're embracing sustainability. So it's just a massive opportunity. And then, I don't have to tell you guys, you're such a successful venture firm on the early stage, particularly, the amount of money that's going to be made from a venture in investing in these technologies, because that there's demand's going to be there. So long-winded way of saying, yes, the climate crisis, I see it as the single biggest threat to ever present itself to the real estate industry, but it's also the single biggest opportunity I've ever seen. I've been in commercial real estate 40 years. I've never seen an opportunity like this. But we're behind, Jeff, to be honest. Tell me what are you and the team seeing at Shadow in terms of deal flow, adoption, demand on the climate front?
Yeah, I think you brought up the risk and reward. I think that's a great point. It's a great reminder that both drive, right? Both drive the opportunity, both drive action. And look at our portfolio, and there's a healthy swath of that portfolio that is focused on specifically on sustainability or specifically on climate type issues, but even the ones that you wouldn't say, oh, that's a climate related startup or a climate related solution. It's still right when we think about resiliency. If we think about industrialized construction, we can start unpacking industrialized construction.
What does that mean in terms of climate? Well, we've got lower carbon footprint with less mile in shipping. When we can move the factory to the job site, right? We're lowering the carbon footprint. We've got supply chain. We've got skilled labor gap issues that are being closed. Resiliency in terms of housing that's being closed. And that's just sort of looking at a residential
Yep.
model. But as you were bringing up, the insurance and the risk and everything else. We look at the state of Florida right now with insurance companies pulling out. I think I saw news this morning, another hurricane coming.
Yeah.
There's a certain place that I used to vacation for over a decade that doesn't really exist right now,
Right.
because of last year's hurricanes.
Right.
That's, I think you're exactly right to look at it in terms of both the challenge and the opportunity, because the ones that are going to come out on the other side, right, they're going to experience the opportunity piece of that.
Yeah, you're spot on, Jeff. Like I think about, and this really is for me personally. This is my mission in life, and besides being hopefully a good dad, a good husband, a good friend, a good human, is really to help lead this effort, this mission to decarbonize the built environment. I just look at it for me personally, like all the roads that I've traveled down in my long career of being in commercial real estate, and the last, say, 10 years focused on the tech sector, and then really helping to now bring that network, that understanding, that connectivity, that the big audience that we have at CREtech now, to really change the world for future generations. And I take it very seriously, and I really do look at it as like my mission every day when I wake up. Like, what did I do? I mean, I got kids, and they're like, they're very aware. Their generation, they're 18 and 16, and they're very aware of the climate crisis. How could they not? I mean, my kids going to school today. It's 100 degrees. It's September where we live in the Northeast. I mean, it doesn't make sense, and they're very aware of it. And I just, on the real estate industry, I think about the real estate industry. What people don't really understand in a lot of cases about it is that it moves where it sees opportunity. It moves where it sees risk. And a nice to have solution is not going to scale in the world's biggest asset class. It's got to deliver some kind of ROI. It's got to deliver some kind of value to that real estate company. And I just can't think of another category that does as much to have an impact on the real estate industry than climate tech. So for me, it's really the big one.
Yeah. So you've got CREtech Climate coming up on the 21st, September 21st. So I know you've got a lot of speakers lined up for it, but what are some of the most popular or most intriguing, or what do you think are the most impactful topics that are going to be talked about?
It's a great question, Jeff. So, I spend most of my time on the content side of the business at CREtech. So, for better or worse, the content's on my shoulders. But so, we start out the day with Chris Sacca, one of the most successful venture investors in history, and he's moved into climate tech investing with lower carbon capital is his fund. And he's been making some investments in the built environment. So I'll be interviewing Chris to kick it off. We've got a lot of speakers, though, from government. So we've got the leaders in the New York City marketplace, the chief climate czar. We've got the head of NYSERDA, the head of New York EDC. We've got the head of sustainability for NYU. We've got Professor Joe Allen of Harvard, talking about healthy buildings. We've got a landlord panel featuring Tishman Speyer, featuring Prologis and others. Galvanize is another new real estate company that's just emerged that Tom Steyer's backing. And then we've got a sort of a government, national government incentives financing panel led by Chris Creed from the Department of Energy. So it's really, the purpose is, Jeff, for the content on that event is to really show what's available in terms of capital, what educate the audience in terms of, what healthy buildings look like, and the dangers of unhealthy buildings on people's livelihood, and then to have some, examples of real estate companies that are putting the action, putting the climate tech invest dollars into action. So it's really sort of an amalgamation of a lot of different themes, but it's meant to be venture, government, and then the real estate sector, and then some from academia to really help just inform. Because the thing that I find on my climate journey, Jeff, is that what's really, really missing is education.
Mm.
And that's why, I'm such a big fan of Shadow, is because you all do such a good job on the education and the content front. I mean, I consume everything you guys put out, so it's really inspiring.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah. So, I think there is, especially when we get into topics like this, I think there is this, it's not necessarily a danger, but this reality that oftentimes we're speaking to the choir,
Yes.
and the people that aren't in the choir are on the outside, and maybe they don't understand why, or they don't understand how to get in. So you're obviously, you called it your climate journey, that you've been on for a long time, but you're really locked in right now, specifically because you got the big event coming up. So if I'm on the outside, if I'm not in the choir, um, I'm in commercial real estate somewhere, but I'm not in the choir yet. What's the big takeaway? What's the big aha moment that I need to have, to make me think about it and move me over to the room and find my robe so I can join the choir?
That's a great question, Jeff. Well phrased, man. Yeah, I think it just goes back to, I'm fortunate that I get to spend a lot of time with a lot of young students, and I know at Shadows Summits that's a big part of what you all do, is invest in the next generation. So, I absolutely subscribe to that philosophy and strategy. So, I teach a class at CU Boulder. I've done some guest lectures with NYU and some of the other universities as well. And the young people get this, right? The younger generation gets that this is a place to make a long, successful, impactful career. When I tell like more of the mature people, older people, not as old as me, is that, it's not a moral argument that I'm going to make. And whether you believe in the science or not, I really don't care. That's your personal preference. Whether you believe in the politics of it, I really don't care. I'm not going to wade into that. Whether you think ESG has become political, hot potato, which it has, that's for other people to debate. I don't get involved in any of that crap. What I'll tell you, though, is if I was going to be thinking about my career and I had 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years to build a career, there's no other place I'd rather be than right here. It hasn't started yet. When it does, it'll go fast. If you just look at some of the economic impacts about some of these battery plants that are being built in very red states, they're thriving. They're attracting jobs. So it's not a blue-red thing. It's just about the economy, man, and making money and being prosperous. And as Wayne Gretzky said, skate to where the puck is headed, not where it's at. The friggin' puck is heading towards climate in the built environment. It might take us a few years for it to really be as something as substantial as like what we're going to do on the 19th and the 20th at CREtech, but it's going to get there. I have zero doubt. When it does, it's going to go fast. And those that, plant the flags early will be the beneficiaries of it. The capital that comes in early, the people that are in the jobs that are, learning sustainability and climate, that are going to work in brokerage or construction or development or in brokerage, whatever, the investment sales or the leasing side, to just understand it is going to put you in a really powerful position to build the next big career path that I see in the industry. So, as you can tell, I'm pretty passionate about this, Jeff.
You are, and that's important, right? We need people to be passionate about this. Michael, I'm really glad that we could have this conversation. I'm surprised it took us this long.
Yeah, no, it's
Not you and I, but overall in Shadow or Shadow Schwartz to not have a conversation about climate thus far. So I'm glad that we finally got to a conversation about climate. It's important, And I'm also glad this is another first. It's the first time we've had a baseball and a hockey reference in the same Shadow Short, and I think that's fantastic.
I'm not even much of a sports fan, but I don't know where that came from. But yeah,
That's
thanks,
good.
Jeff. Again, thanks for all the support, for the CREtech support, just all that you all do for the industry to sort of raise the bar on content, thoughtfulness. I just can't say enough to the audience about all the great work that you and KP and the rest of the team. It's terrific.
Yeah, I thank you for that. If you're listening to this or watching this right now, in the bottom left of your screen is the URL for CREtech, CREtech.com. You can find more information on all the shows, but specifically coming up the 19th, 20th, and 21st in New York, 19, 20, and 21st of September in New York. So check that out. Reach out to Michael. He's very accessible.
Yes.
And passionate, and he's somebody that you need to talk to, somebody that you need to know. And if you want to go, you get into the month of October and you want to talk more about sustainability, climate, etc., shadowsummit.com. It's coming up the October 24th through 26th in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So two great opportunities, CREtech and Shadow Summit, September, October. Both of the goal of both of these conferences, of both of these gatherings, is to set an agenda,
Yeah.
is to have the conversations that change the industry. So CREtech.com, shadowsummit.com, check them both out. And we'll look forward to seeing you in New York and Atlanta.
For the audience, I've been to their show. It's really great. It's one of the more thoughtful ones I've been to. I hope to make it back this year. So it's a really great one to attend. And Atlanta is a super freaking cool city. So
Yeah,
it's always an added plus too. So thanks, Jeff. Really great, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Michael. And to all of you out there, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll be back again tomorrow with another short conversation with an expert or thought leader in the realm of innovation for the built environment. So until then, have a great day, and we'll see you.